Namaskar. Welcome to another episode of Gandhian Voice, the Modi government and the petroleum prices. The past failures of Congress leadership and their coalition governments was a boon to BJP and the Modi government to get a second term in India. All said and done, our Prime Minister Shri Modi is a free and fair person. Personally, he is also free from corruption and he is working hard for a stronger India. His motto, Sabka Sath, Sabka Vikas, many Indians took to their heart. However, some of his policies are counterproductive. This is very true in the case of petroleum products in India. The price of petroleum products are a scorching issue for all Indians as it is shooting up every day as if there is nobody to control it. Probably since Modi took over as Prime Minister of India, the prices of petroleum products are shooting up beyond any reason. It seems like the Modi government and some state governments, including the Kerala government and their decision makers, are praying for daily hike in crude oil prices so that they can get free tax revenue. It is interesting to see that there are 5 guiding principles for fixing the price of petroleum products in India. Among them, the second principle says that the prices of petroleum products should be, as far as possible, aligned with international prices. True, retail price of petrol and diesel in India shall be linked to the global crude oil price to sustain our refineries. The 5th principle says the excise tariffs shall be restructured to protect the consumers from excessive volatility in petrol and diesel prices. When crude oil prices go up, the excise duty can be brought down suitably without affecting the tax revenue of the central and state governments. As a corollary, when crude oil prices go down, the excise duty can be increased sufficiently to keep a steady revenue for the governments. Thus, by a judicious operation of the pricing principles of petroleum products, there can be a complete control of the consumer price of petroleum products so that the rise and fall of crude oil prices will not significantly affect the consumer price. These principles are only on paper, as Modi government never cared for their implementation. This is true even for the Pinarayi government in Kerala, as they are also not prepared to forego the excess tax revenue they get. It is unfortunate that the central and many state governments in India consider any rise in crude oil price as a windfall opportunity to make extra revenue. Both center and state governments consider such additional revenue essential for freebies and creation of non-performing assets like the Statue of Unity, the new Parliament House called Central Vista Project, the VVIP aircrafts, etc. This policy of Modi government enables the the central and state governments to get about 55% of the price the public pay for petrol and diesel. Yet another glaring discrimination is that the common man's fuel, petrol and diesel, are priced above rupees 100, whereas the aviation petrol is priced only rupees 72. In simple terms, the governments are not prepared to maintain a stable price for petroleum products in India, while many foreign countries, particularly the developed countries, use this technique to cushion the variations in crude oil prices. The fuel price situation in India is such that the Indians on an average spends around 20% of their income on fuel, whereas in more than 57 countries the corresponding expenditure is somewhat steady and below 10% of the per capita income. A steady low-level per capita expenditure on fuel has a big role in stabilizing the general consumer price index, the living costs, and strengthening the national economy. The fun is that even the burden of losses due to COVID lockdowns, poor sales, etc., are thrust upon the common man, so that the petroleum companies remain what is called the Maharatna. What is Maharatna? Any public sector company which makes a net profit above rupees 5,000 crore per year for the last 3 consecutive years is termed as a Maharatna company, and all our oil companies are Maharatna companies. All the 3 public sector companies giving rich salaries and perks to their staff make more than 5,000 crores as profit to retain the Maharatna status. The Reliance Petrol and other private sector companies must be making still higher profits. This daylight looting by the oil companies get silent support from central government, as these companies directly financed the major portion of the rupees 3,000 crore non-performing asset, the Statue of Unity in Gujarat. Of course, Sri Modi is not corrupt, but his petroleum policy is anti-developmental. In the name of freebies, the cost of fuel is going up almost every day. As it happens now, this will lead to the vicious circle of spiraling prices for all commodities and for all services. The poor and the average people in India will find it difficult to live. I am sure we have even surpassed Pakistan in selling fuel at the highest price in the world in comparison with our per capita income. There are several options to control price of petroleum products, like economy of the operations of the oil companies, reduction of profit, reduction of duties by central and state governments, etc. If the petroleum prices are not curtailed, the Indian economy will collapse. The net result will be inflation and devaluation of the Indian rupee. Already, in the last 6 months, the value of Indian rupee has gone down by 3.1 rupees against US dollar. There are only a handful of companies oil companies in India, all of which operate in the most luxurious way compared to any other manufacturing and marketing companies in India. The conditions of operating these companies are such that whatever expenses they incur, whether it is taxes, the ups and downs in sales, as in the pandemic days, the heavy perks to the employees, mismanagement, etc., they have the easy option to pass on all such losses to the consumers to keep their operations always on profit and remain in the list of Maharatna companies. None of the oil companies are prepared to reduce their overheads, as was done by many private companies on the pandemic days, and keep a steady price for the petroleum products. The governments are also not ready to roll down some of the central excise duties and taxes and the windfall taxes enjoyed by the state governments. This is a vicious circle where the public is being taxed by the oil companies and the lawmakers, even though such a situation was set in motion by the UPA government. Nobody will prevent the Modi government to set up a regulatory system to stabilize the price of petroleum products. It will also contribute to stabilize the spiraling cost of living in India and the looming threat of devaluation of the Indian rupee. Under the present policy and at this rate, India can never be an economic power, and Shri Modi, Hoga Sabka Sath, Lekin Sabka Vikas, Kabhi nahi Hoga.